welcome to the Ladies Lounge.
I'm so excited.
The Ladies Lounge. I have the lovely Kimberly Malloy. She is like, if you don't know her, you need to know her, but you might not have time to get to know everybody. Huh?
Well, I'd like to. I'd love to.
Via video.
Yes.
They'll get to know you via video.
Yeah.
So, a little bit about kind of you, what you do, what your specialty is, and then we'll get into a couple of questions.
Okay. All right. So I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. So I have a private practice where I see clients, but I'm also really passionate about doing things in the community. So I work with Hope for Prisoners and go to the prisons once a week, and I'm teaching. We're just launching a shame and trauma class, which I'm really excited about that. And then I do just a lot of different trainings in the community, and a lot of them on shame. That's probably my passion. If somebody can be passionate about shame, I guess that would be it.
She's scribed. She's scribed in shame. She's scribed in shame.
Yeah.
And then you did the luncheon for how long?
Oh, yes. So the Businesswomen for Christ luncheon,
yes.
14 years.
That was a long time.
Yes.
And I only found out about it the last few years, and so I sporadically came, and it was a blessing every time.
Yes.
Many people are going to miss out on that unless somebody picks it up.
Yes, which I think there's a lot of great opportunities for Christian women to connect, professional Christian women to connect now, more so than there were 14 years ago.
Yes.
It was very limited. Yeah.
Yes. So I wanted to talk to you specifically when you came across my heart about our first question will be, and I guess this is a wide lens question, mental health and the church, which also goes back to shame.
Yes.
So what have you found in your years of counseling with mental health and the church, the issues with that? Because I feel like it's more issues and shame associated with it than not.
Right. And I think that one of the biggest things is people always feel like they are not praying enough, or that they are not living a good enough Christian life. If they were, they wouldn't have depression.
Right.
They wouldn't be struggling with that. And
and these are good church going, scripture quoting.
Yes.
Wondering what's going on with my brain.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And you just point them back to the Bible and say, look how much depression.
Yeah.
Let's
talk to Elijah and David. We can go through many of the greats and find depression all throughout the scripture. They did encourage themselves, but they needed help.
Yes.
Why do you feel like it is easier for us to get prayer and go and get help for, say, cancer or diabetes or even a scrape on our arm than I feel trapped in my mind?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think that's how we're raised. We're raised to, it's okay to go bring your car in to get fixed. It's okay to go to the doctor and get that broken arm set. But when it comes to issues in your family of origin issues, when it comes to addictions or people in your family struggling with it, no, we got to keep that here in the family.
Yes.
We don't want anybody anywhere, including the church, to know that we are not
perfect.
Yes.
Other
than what we look like when we drive up on Sunday morning.
Yes, which is such. I feel like that's Antichrist.
Yes.
Because he said, "Whom the Son sets free is free indeed."
Yep.
And so, if I am free, I don't have to be bound by your opinion of me.
Right.
I was saying to a good friend of mine, of ours, Miss Kay, I said, God graciously allowed me to go through publicly with my family so that I would not have shame associated with it. If you go through sometimes privately some things, then you have to keep that private lie up.
Right.
In the sense of, not everything is for a billboard or for groups
For sure.
and crowds, but
Right.
there are things that I found, especially when you have kids. Kids know other kids, and they know what's going on in other families
Right.
that you may not know. And I have a beautiful son. I will say that he is very strong-willed, but he would know stuff about other kids and households, and he goes, "Mom, they are dealing with the same thing. You were
Yes.
just open and honest, and we went through ours publicly, and they are going through theirs privately and lying to you
Yes.
about what their
Yeah.
family is going through." He said, "And sometimes you're a little too honest,
Yeah.
and I don't ever like to feel like I'm lying if somebody asks me a question.
Right. Right.
And there's a way to answer it without being rude, but I feel like it was God's grace and gift to me to allow us to, a little bit of it, be kind of public with our church family and our family, and not have to walk around and pretend like this is not going on.
Right.
Even if people will choose to talk about it, I've learned that's between you and God. You
That's
gotta
right.
deal. You have to stand
That's
before a
right.
holy God and deal with
That's
that.
right. That's right.
And what I found more than not was there was a whole community praying for us.
Yes.
And so I don't have to walk around in shame, because we got little people that, and us, that are in need of prayer.
Yes.
That's why Christ came,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
He didn't say that we would be perfect and that our
Right.
children will be perfect.
Yeah.
We got a free will,
Right.
you know?
And that's why he wants us in community.
Yes.
He doesn't tell us to go and isolate.
Or get in community to be perfect.
Right, exactly.
Let's
Yes.
compare our perfections.
Yep, you're right.
And that's what happens.
Yep, all the time, all the time. And so I like it, being, whenever a leader can be authentic
Yes.
and, share to the proper degree what it is that they are going through.
I like that, the proper degree.
Yeah, right? That gives hope for the rest of us.
Yes.
And then we don't feel like we are doing this whole walk wrong. It's
Yes.
like we can't help how our brain is chemically wired. We can't help that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we can't help the circumstances that we walk through
Or that we were born into.
or that we were born into.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Do you want to talk a little bit about your circumstances you were born into, or?
I can.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
So, I'm the youngest of 6, and on my first birthday, my birth mother died.
On the birthday?
Yes, on my actual birthday.
Oh, wow.
Yes, yeah, I know.
Okay.
But I didn't learn about that. My dad remarried right away because I was the youngest of 6 kids. And back then, I think men, that's what they did. Is they
It's not only back then, it's happening right now.
Yeah, probably. I don't think
happening
they
right
feel
now.
as comfortable being by themselves. So my father married right away. And I didn't find out until I was 20 that the woman who raised me was not my mom. And that, boy, you talk about just looking at life and the web of lies, and just probably the shame that she felt in not having kids, or I don't really know, because she's 94 and she doesn't really talk about it. So that was a really upfront good example of living this web of lies for decades and decades.
Probably I look like her, like the things that we say, because I've had a lot of friends that found out at one point or another, and they would always say, I don't know if I look like,
Yeah.
and so you probably made connections that were not there.
Well, and I think what's interesting is, we lived in a 1,500 square foot house with 6 kids, so there was 8 of us in the house. How did I not know that she was not my mom? And that just kind of shows you the level of miscommunication,
So not even
or
the
no
older
communication.
kids?
Nobody said anything to me. Nobody. And then when the day that my dad told me, he said, you can't tell her because it will just break her.
Wow.
So I had to keep at that, stay in that role and pretend that she was my mom while trying to figure out what my identity was.
So that's
For
why you
another
are a
30 years.
scribe
Yeah.
on shame.
Yes.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
You went through it for
Yes,
real. Like
for
you
real. Yes.
understand it.
Yes. And I made I think when we're struggling with our identity, there's a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of lack of judgment that we make. And I made a ton of them.
Yes.
So in struggling with trying to figure out who I was, and I didn't know Jesus in any of this, I made a ton of mistakes. So there was all of that shame carried.
Yes.
And then when coming to Christ and being able to walk through that and finally being able to be who I am and be
Yes.
comfortable with that.
Yes.
And I'm a believer that, you don't have to tell everybody your story. People have to earn the privilege of knowing your story.
Yes.
Except when somebody is in a position of leadership, I think that is the opportunity to be able to share those things.
Absolutely, because what it has done in the past is I'm looking for the right word, kind of perpetuate shame
Yes.
in others.
Yes.
Because if they didn't have that issue and I'm having this issue, what is wrong with me? I remember living my first, years as a new believer in a lot of shame because I remember like, what is wrong with me? It wasn't until there was my grandmother's best friend gave her story, her testimony, and she was a church mother. And prior to this, a lot of the church mothers, without even realizing it, bred condemnation and bred, they taught a lot of shame. And if you are doing this, you must not be doing this. And if you are doing this, and then I would find out at funerals that all of your children are not by the same dad.
Right.
And you got married with extra kids. And like you would find out at the funerals of the husbands or wives, like the kids that would be mentioned, you're like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
you weren't born perfect?
Yeah.
Nobody said,
Right.
what?
Yes.
And so then you're angry,
Yes.
and then you're
Yep.
mad, you feel betrayed,
Right.
you feel lied to.
Yep.
My grandmother's best friend told her testimony in Sunday school right after I gave my heart to the Lord, and it set me free. She was the first person that was like completely free with her life. She said, if we don't tell these kids what we got saved from, not that you have to go into detail,
Right.
they won't know
Right.
that there's hope for them,
Right.
And so that was like my journey to freedom. And then, and then you would hear, you're not praying enough, or you're
Yes.
not
Yep.
reading enough, or you're not, you got to quote 10 more scriptures 10 more
Right.
times,
Right.
1600 more days,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
you'll be free.
Yes.
And it didn't always happen like that. And so you start to resent, and you start to question
Right.
your faith. And have you found that a lot in counseling, that people question their faith depending on who's discipling them?
Oh, for sure. Like my oldest sister went through brain cancer, and she and my other sister are the reasons why I accepted Christ. They are the ones who were leading a life that I wanted to be like. This was later in my 40s. But my sister...
You mean you're not 40, girl?
I know, just 41.
Girl!
So when she was going through brain cancer for 5 years, she would actually have people tell her that, there must be some unresolved sin, there must be something that... And as a new Christian, I'm like, what? Why would you say that? So that's one of the things that I'm really passionate about in my office, is when people come and I know that they're people of faith, I'm always talking to them about talk to me about how this impacts your walk. Talk to me about what are the stories that you are telling yourself about this. How is it that you view Abba Father in this?
Yes.
And kind of helping them kind of root